Hey mamas, I hope that you are having an incredible day right now and an incredible week. And I wanted to hop on here and just chat with you about a topic that I think is so relevant right now because I know that Zoom calls and phone calls are like so important to all of us right now in our businesses. And especially when you're getting on the masterclass calls, I want you guys to have the most success that you can. And so I want to give you some tips for setting your little ones up for success so that they will give you more focused time to participate in the masterclass, to ask questions, to follow along, and jot down your answers in the workbook. And then also for the accountability calls to be able to plug into them even when your kids are around. And I know that a lot of moms, myself included, have often felt like we can't really do anything when our kids are around. But the fact of the matter is, our kids are always going to be with us. They're always going to be part of our business until they grow up and they leave our home. And what a sad day that is going to be. I know personally, I'm going to miss having kids at home. And so I want to kind of give my kids the opportunity right now to see what it looks like to have a working mom. And so I want you guys to feel that same encouragement and that same empowerment that we can teach our children boundaries. We can teach our children what it looks like to honor our moms when they are on a Zoom call, honor our moms when they are on a phone call, right? And so I want to give you some tips today and some strategies that you can use with your kids. Now, I know that some of you have different age children, some are still infants and some are older, but hopefully these tips will help you regardless of their age, and you can, take what you can and leave what you can't use. Okay, so I have some notes over here. So if you see me looking off the screen, that's why. Okay, so my first tip for you guys, if you have little ones like that you need to keep an eye on, is to create a space inside of your office or wherever you do Zoom calls. So maybe it's in your living room. Create a space inside of wherever you do your Zoom calls for your kids to have their own office. So for me, when my kids were little, they still like to do this sometimes, but we had like a pretend phone. We had a pretend, like a real, not a pretend, a real keyboard that they could act like they had their own business. I even printed like little checks for them or little veterinarian like cards that they could use just so that they felt like they had their own business. And it was just so much fun. The other thing that I set up at that office are coloring pages. So I would put crayons out and I would have coloring pages for them to work on while I was on my call. And I just really let them know that mom is working right now and you can be working too. And if you need me, you can put your hand on my shoulder right here and wait. And when there is a break in the conversation, or if you're just listening at that point, you can just turn to your child and say, okay, what is it that you need? Because I think sometimes we feel like we have to have undivided attention, which I totally get. But as a mompreneur, we also have to adjust our schedule sometimes. We have to adjust our expectations sometimes and realize that we can raise a family and grow a business at the same time. It's just going to look a little bit different. And that's totally okay. I know that all of you have kids at home. And so if your kids are in the video with you, like, we totally understand. You'll be muted anyways. You can listen with headphones. So if your kids are chatting in the background, like, it's not going to be distracting, right? We're not going to hear them anyways. So I hope that first tip is helpful, is to kind of create an office space inside your office so that they can feel like they are a part of your work as well, and they feel like they have a purpose in that. Okay, so my second tip here is to front load connection before you get on the call. So I've talked about this before, but it's super important that you play with your kids and give them as much attention as you can before you get on that call. What that's going to do is it's going to let them know that they are loved, that they are taken care of, and they'll be less likely to interrupt you if they have already had that connection with you. Now, for our family, and what works really well for me is I like to give each of my children 10 minutes of special time right before I get on a call, 10 minutes of whatever they want to do. And then I also do sibling time, or not sibling time, sorry, together time. Sibling time is for a later conversation, but together time is just where we play all together. So I give them each one-on-one attention for 10 minutes, and then we go into together time, and it's usually a game, playing hide and seek, like a board game, a card game, something like that. I let them collectively decide, and if they can't agree, then I just choose for them. So I think this is so important to give them that connection up front. It'll eliminate a lot of them interrupting you during your conversation or during the master classes. Okay, the next tip here is tip number 3 is to create a brainstorm activity list for your children. And I actually have a template for this that I'm going to attach here underneath this video so that you guys can grab it, print it out. It's really great for older kids, this one, because you have to know how to read. But for those of your little kids who don't read yet, you could do pictures instead and create your own activity list. And then allow them to help you come up with some ideas of what they can do to work on or kind of entertain themselves while you're on your call. So this could be something like playing in their room or getting out Play-Doh. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but like my kids will sit at the table and play with Play-Doh for over an hour and not bug me at all. So some of your like older toddlers might be able to do that, right? Find those activities that they can do in the same room as you so you can keep a close eye on them, but that they can be really entertained. And it's something that maybe you don't let them do very often. That's another really great tip is kind of keeping at like some toys or something in a bin that they can only use when you're on a Zoom call or when you're on the phone. So I call it my phone box. I've never actually made one because my kids really don't need one anymore when they're older, but it's something that I thought of for those of you that have like smaller kids. I think that would be such a genius idea. Okay, and then the last tip I have here is, oh, I already mentioned this one, was the shoulder. This has been a game changer in our family because it teaches our children the boundary of not interrupting. And I think as moms, we get used to that interrupting and it bothers us, but we don't really feel, we kind of feel powerless, like we don't know what to say. And so that is the perfect way to kind of just give them that nudge, that boundary, like, hey, if you have something to say, that's totally great, but put your hand on my shoulder and wait, right? Or say, excuse me. I let my kids say that too, like if they're not within reach of me, maybe they're in the back seat, they can't reach me, they can say, excuse me, mom. And that just lets me know that they want to interject, they want to talk, but they also are being aware of the fact that they hear me talking, right? And so I think that's just really important for us to remember when our kids are home on our Zoom calls. That happens to me often when my kids are on break. I still have calls, I still have things that I need to do. And I just tell my kids, you know, I'm going to be on the phone. I'll be available for an emergency, but you know, please let mommy have this time because the more time I get to pour in this hour means the more time I get to play with you after, and kind of give them something to look forward to. And so I hope that you guys found this helpful, these simple strategies, but really to help empower your kids to stay busy while you're on your call, but they can just be really close by in case they need you. So I hope that you've found these tips super helpful. Zoom calls and phone calls, they just happen all the time. We can't always plan around our kids' schedules. And if we plan like around nap time or bedtime, we have very limited time as moms. And let's just be really honest, there are going to be times that we get on a Zoom call or a phone call and our kids are with us. So it's so important to have strategies and literal box of tricks that we can pull out when we need to use them. So I can't wait to see you guys in the next masterclass. And please let me know if you guys have any questions, comments, or feedback on how you help set your kids up for success when you are on a Zoom call. I hope you guys enjoyed these strategies, and I will see you in our next coaching session.